Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to have you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you're calling in from. I know we have quite a spread today. Welcome to Planet Women Presents. This is our ongoing speaker series, and this is actually our last Planet Women Presents of 2022. We are getting to year end, and we could not ask for a better topic or a better twosome to have presenting today. So my name is Joanna Marshall. I'm the Director of Development and Marketing for Planet Women. And today I will be facilitating alongside Kimberly Absher, our Marketing and Communications Associate. She will be managing the chat function and also reading out the questions that you have for audience Q&A. So as you are hearing everyone talk today and you get your questions, type them in the chat and Kimberly will save them until it's audience Q&A. So if you're new to Planet Women, we are a startup nonprofit that invests in women-led, women-focused solutions to the environmental crisis. We partner with organizations that protect nature in holistic ways while also supporting communities and growing women's leadership. So it's a win-win-win. And we love spotlighting the work of our incredible partners, which is what we are going to do today. So today the spotlight is on Djolu Technical College, deep in the rainforest of the Congo Basin, and on Congo Education Partners, a nonprofit that was founded to support the college. The story of the college and the community in Djolu is incredibly inspiring, and I'm very thrilled that we have two people to give us a first-hand account of that story today. Next up, we're going on a virtual journey into the Congo Basin rainforest and to the Democratic Republic of Congo. We will watch a short film that will transport us out there, and you'll hear from some of the faculty and students at Djolu Technical College. After the 10-minute film, we'll get to have a conversation with the filmmaker himself, who's here today, Pappy Orion and CEP. He's a Congolese filmmaker, creative director, author, and founder. And Dr. Ingrid Schulze, who's the founder and board member of Congo Education Partners. Yes, and cheers for both of you. Welcome. So Ingrid holds much knowledge about this part of the Congo Basin. She has worked with Albert Lokasola, the founder of Djolu Technical College, for 16 years on education and health projects, most notably on the college in the Chuapa province of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And outside of his job as creative director, Pappy is an advisor for Congo Education Partners and the founder of his own nonprofit, Focus Congo. He's based in Germany, but travels to DRC to produce beautiful films and photos for Congo Education Partners. And he's currently working on a long-form documentary about local people in Djolu. There is truly so much more I could say about both of these absolutely brilliant people, but I want to save time for them to tell you their story themselves. So next up, settle into your seats, buckle up. We are going on a tour of the Congo. I'm going to mute you so we have good sound.
After a journey of more than 1,300 kilometers, I cannot believe we've made it to Djolu. Djolu is a territory in the Chuapa province, which is one of the least developed and most heavily forested area in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I have traveled to many places throughout the world, but this journey to Djolu has been the most difficult and challenging, yet the most fulfilling journey I have ever embarked on. Why Djolu, you might ask? We have been invited to visit Djolu by a non-profit organization called Congo Education Partners to see the work they are doing with the Djolu Technical College.
C'est Bibi Chimpanga, posterne c'est le FACA. Alors les études c'est mieux pour nous les femmes aujourd'hui. Si une femme aussi, elle a bien étudié, ça donne aussi, ça ouvre la porte pour les travaux. J'ai choisi l'ISDER. Par plusieurs des raisons. Le changement climatique, c'est ça aussi mon sujet, qui montre que le monde a des changements aujourd'hui. Alors, il faut prendre des précautions, des leçons sur base de ça. Parce qu'auparavant, on a eu quand même le temps pour cultiver. Mais aujourd'hui, il y a quand même la perturbation totale climatique. Il y a aussi beaucoup d'espèces qui disparaissent. Exemples comme les bonobos, et tout consort. Alors, par rapport à cette option, là, nous recevons des cours qu'on peut protéger les espèces-là. Parce que pourquoi on conserve ça? C'est pour donner aussi l'occasion à nos enfants qui viendront de trouver ça. Parce que même moi je n'ai pas vu l'éléphant aller.
My name is Pappy Orion. I'm a Congolese and I love Congo. My goal has always been to travel around Congo and highlight the hidden beauty, the quiet strength of our country as well. I also wanted to highlight the great work that is being done by amazing non-profit organizations and individuals. This is why I traveled all the way from Bukavu, South Kivu, to Congo's deep rainforest. I set out traveling to Djolu with a friend of mine from Germany. He also wanted to experience the beauty of Congo and of course was curious to see this place called Djolu. Our journey began in Bukavu, South Kivu, where we took a boat across the beautiful Lake Kivu to the city of Goma, where we were able to catch a flight to Kisangani in the Chopo province. Once we arrived in Kisangani, we were able to visit the incredible Wagenia tribe on the Congo River. We spent time with them and heard about the history of this area and experienced the amazing resilience and the famous fishing skills of this tribe. The next step of our journey from Kisangani to Lokoto will be by boat, an old wooden overcrowded boat. These boats are infamous in Congo as being one of the most dangerous means of transport you can take. This experience for us though was amazing.
On the Congo River,
second largest in the world.
the second largest rainforest.
And river.
Yeah, and river, but the most precious in the world. Guys, I'm out of words.
We traveled overnight along the river. We spent time with our fellow travelers, and before arriving in Lokoto, we watched the sun rise over the Congo River in one of the most beautiful and spectacular sunrises I have seen. Our journey towards Djolu continued from Lokoto on the back of motorbikes. We spent the next 20 hours traveling on narrow paths through deep jungle and passing by small picturesque Congolese villages. Riding through this rainforest was a dream for me, not only getting to see the immense natural beauty of the world's second largest rainforest, but also getting to meet the friendly people that live in these remote areas of my country.
We're in the middle of the rainforest.
I can't believe it. Djolu Technical College was founded in 2004 by a local non-governmental organization called V Sauvage. This college provides higher education and training to local students who would otherwise have traveled this long journey to get an education. It helps local students to become professionals, leaders in their community, and active stewards of the vital Congolese rainforest. We are losing the rainforest to climate change, population growth, unsustainable agriculture, logging, and mining. But we cannot save the rainforest without supporting the people who live in there. And they cannot save the rainforest without education.
Étant d'abord technicien de développement rural, et vu la situation, la précarité dont connaît notre population, il y a même la rareté au niveau du marché. Il y a aussi manque d'emploi. Bon, étant technicien, qu'est-ce qu'on a fait? Au lieu de rester bras croisés, nous avions eu l'initiative de faire ces projets. D'abord pour notre ville et aussi pour aider la population riveraine.
We had the opportunity to talk to students at Djolu Technical College. It was great to hear their stories, and I wanted to share with you what they had to say about the impact this college has had on them.
Étudier, avoir l'autonomie, faire aussi les travaux, être capable de se défendre dans les choses soi-même.
Mon nom c'est Michel Bokuta, j'étudie à l'USDR Djolu, j'ai fait eaux et forêts. J'ai choisi les eaux et forêts pour conserver la nature. Je vais donner les causes qui ont fait que l'espèce bonobo soit en voie de disparition. Moi, étant ingénieur forestier, je ne peux jamais écrire le demande d'emploi pour solliciter un travail, mais je dois créer les emplois. Étant ingénieur forestier, je peux faire les piscicultures, les élevages, les conservations de quelques espèces naturelles.
Merci, j'ai fait le choix d'étudier à l'USDR parce que là-bas, il y a des professeurs de bonne qualité, il y a la bonne formation de qualité. Il y a des professeurs de qualité qui nous enseignent la spécialité de l'environnement durable, l'environnement et le développement durable. Parce que là-bas, nous allons créer des emplois pour lutter contre la pauvreté. J'ai le souci de travailler sur la malnutrition parce que dans notre métier, je vois qu'il y a tas de maladies chez les enfants. Les enfants ne se développent pas bien, on n'a pas de bonne croissance. C'est à cela que j'ai choisi de faire la maladie.
Des jeunes filles qui se marient, donc à l'âge de 12 ans. Vous voyez maintenant. Alors, si elle a quand même vu même les tableaux, elle va voir quelques conceptions dans sa tête. Donc, il va connaître que se marier à l'âge que je suis, c'est mauvais. Que nous vivons, la femme aussi a vu que non. On n'a pas dit que c'est seulement les hommes qui travaillent dans des bureaux. Et les femmes aussi ont besoin de travailler dans des bureaux comme les hommes. C'est pourquoi les femmes ont se donné corps et âme à étudier, d'avoir encore les emplois comme les hommes. Parce qu'on n'a pas dit que si tu es l'homme ou femme, c'est l'homme seulement qui va s'engager à occuper tout ce qui se trouve dans la maison. Et les remerciements aussi tombés à son côté parce que Nitete et les étudiantes là n'ont pas eu le droit d'étudier parce que les moyens ici nous manquent. Alors, par leur intervention aujourd'hui, nous avons bénéficié beaucoup des élèves, filles.
Although Djolu is isolated, I must say I have learned a lot in my short time here, and I am returning home knowing that great work is being done by Congo Education Partners and the Djolu Technical College. Not only can I now say I have visited this place, but moreover, I know I want to be part of making a greater impact by continuing supporting organizations that are working towards a better future for us all. You can also be part of this by supporting the work of Congo Education Partners to continue providing education to students in Djolu, and especially education to the women. I know this video is short and only touches a little of the immense work being done here in Djolu, but please check out their website to see even more of their work. The success story is the future vision of the work which is being done by the amazing non-profit. Before you leave, remember to hit the subscribe button and make sure you share this story if it speaks to you somehow. And remember that we are in this together. We continue taking you to places and showing you people that are making big impact in our country. And know that, nous sommes ensemble. God bless you and take care.
Yes, if we were in a real room, I think you would get a big round of applause. So know that that's happening right now, Pappy. So nice. Wow, I've watched that movie so many times, but every time it's still so moving. It's really beautiful. So I feel very lucky to have you here today, Pappy, to tell us a little bit more about the film and yourself. So I think let's start with that. I would like to ask you first, Pappy, tell us a little bit about how you made this film and what inspired you to work with Congo Education Partners.
Thank you very much, guys. Planet Woman, for all of you guys, for the opportunity to share a little bit about a Congo education partner and what they're doing in Djolu. It's always a pleasure. I get so excited always when I'm invited to share a little bit about Congo. And so, yeah, as you say, my name is Pappy Orion and Rizibuka. And yeah, I was born in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And so, but I left when I was a kid. I will share about that. I guess I'll share about that later. But I will focus on what really pushed us to make this film and the process it took for us to be able to do it. So I've been working on a project called Kitokoyo. Kitokoyo meaning is a Lingala word meaning this beauty. So we were looking at what was being said about Congo and the image that has been portrayed in major media outlets of the world. And it was this image of Congo is a red capital of the world, you know, a place that you don't want to visit, you know, not many media outlet that talks about the beauty of Congo, the potential of Congo. And this is when we decided we want to try and focus on the hope and the beauty of Congo. So Kitokoyo came about, Kitokoyo, the quiet strength of Congo. And when we started this and we saw we had a lot of following, especially we had following in the Congolese diaspora around the world, saying, wow, we didn't know this existed in Congo. Can I follow you? And we had a lot of people that came with us and we say we want to continue doing this. But in the process of discovering the beauty of Congo, we start realizing slowly that the beauty of Congo was in danger. You know, we photographing landscape, taking videos and looking at the resource, we're like, wait a minute, we want to continue showing this beauty, but soon this beauty will no longer be here. And this is when actually in this midst where we're wondering what we're going to do, that is when a friend of mine from Australia called Ryan Kara contacted me and said, some guys from Djolu have contacted me and wanted you to, they wanted us to go there and do some pictures and do some videos for the college. And I'm like, where's Djolu? I never heard of Djolu. Ever since I knew there was a Congo deep rainforest and all of that, but I never know Djolu. And I started researching, and as I researched, I saw this little village somewhere. I'm like, wow, that is very, very interesting. But on the map, I saw the jungle and I saw the beauty. I'm like, I want to go and tell the story of Djolu. And in my mind, I was thinking that I think the people have never reached there, so there must be it must be the most beautiful place you'll find in Congo because it's so deep. And I'm like, I want to do this. So we talked about it and we started talking to Ingrid, and the whole journey came together. Unfortunately, my friend Ryan couldn't make it, but I decided I want to go anyway. So I'm back on this journey from South Kivu. I don't know if any of you have been to Congo, South Kivu to Djolu. I think it's about 1,500 kilometers. And so you basically from Bukavu, where I come from, which is really close to Rwanda. You take a boat through the Lake Kivu and then get to Goma, and from Goma you take a flight to Kisangani. And once you get to Kisangani, that's where the journey started becoming very difficult, because now the transport there, you either take a motorbike all the way or take a bus from there to a place called Lokutu. And at this point, we decided we want to take the boats because we wanted to get that experience, the people that go on a Congo River take. And so it wasn't disappointing. The ride on the boat was the most amazing experience that I've ever had. You know, being able to see the landscape, the people that live along the shore of Congo River. if you are traveling on the river, on the Congo River, you don't see the distraction, you don't see the logging. You see it as with its natural beauty, and it gives you the most amazing feeling you could ever have. Because, and when you get out of the Congo River and now starting traveling by motorbike, that's when you started seeing some kind of distraction. You see where people are living. But also, this distraction gave me a different thought. I'm like, wow, I see these people are unreachable, but you know, we going to this amazing college, Djolu Technical College. How did they get there? How did they establish this? And this gave me also the zeal to continue and get to this place, Djolu. The journey wasn't very easy because at some point we got arrested by the Dejem, what will I call that? Ingrid, what this like the Home Affairs office, and they were asking me for visa, right. And because I was with the German as well, they're like, okay, you guys, you are here illegally, even though I'm a Congolese, but and at some point, even as I talked to Ingrid, and they were telling me, if you want, you can actually go back. You don't have to continue. But I said, as I was going through this travel and talking to different people, even until the issue went to Kinshasa, I was like, maybe I'm going to prison. But my hope was that if I can only get to Djolu, I think I'll be fulfilled. And thank God they managed to release us after a night, and we continued our journey to Djolu. And as we traveled with the motorbike and meeting different people and talking with them, and also seeing some of the places where there is no education and stuff, and I was really imagining, I'm like, if only there could be a glimpse, they could have a glimpse of education, I think there'll be much more. There'll be much more care for the environment here. They will have more hope for the country, and they will obviously know that the people care for them, because every time the people see us, they will ask us, where do you come from? What do you do? What are you doing? Why are you here? And you could see that people do care that people are coming to visit them there. And finally, we reached Djolu, and this was amazing to finally be there. This is Djolu. And the time we reached, we started working because we had only one day there to do. So the stuff I did was during my travel, and Djolu itself, I spent just one day to talk to the student, to film some interviews, and to drive back to Kisangani. But during my time there, so I think something touched me that pushed me almost to want to stay there, you know, because I saw the student there. I talked to them, and I listened to why do they choose to study. Well, they could go to Kisangani and get a job, but the people there, they care for the forest, they care for the animal, they want to protect the environment. They know already that this is very vital for them, first of all, but also they know that it's vital for entire humankind. And that for me triggered some kind of feeling for me that is pushing me to go back to Djolu. And this is why I'm actually going back, because I know that if many people can get what the students in Djolu are getting, I think Congo can experience some change at least. And so that was roughly the making of the film, and coming back here and just reflecting on what I have learned. I must say I've learned quite a lot just being in the Djolu, because I've never been in an environment like that where people have so little, but they are willing to give up everything in order for them to protect, you know, this treasure, the quiet strength of Congo. So, yeah.
Thank you, Pappy.
Yeah.
Wow, that was quite the journey, more than I realized. And it's incredible that you did all of that and then got to Djolu and you were only there for 24 hours and filmed all those interviews and then turned around. Amazing. Thank you. And you alluded to this a little bit earlier, but I know that you have an amazing life story, so amazing that it's been published in books. And I'm sure we could dedicate a whole event to it. So would you share a little bit of your personal story today, whatever you feel called to share and have time for?
Yes, with you guys. I feel like I'm in a family, so so yeah. As I say, I'm a Congolese. I was born in the South Kivu, and from my childhood was quite normal as any child. I grew up in a place where when I wake up, I saw beautiful mountains, and we had a forest right close to us. And so over Christmas Eve, me and my parents, we would go to the forest and we'd do bonfire in the middle of the forest, and that was amazing. We didn't burn the forest though, so we knew how to protect that. And so that continued for years until I was 11. When I was 11, unfortunately, the war broke out in Congo, and this really brought fear on everyone. And for every able-bodied, we became a prime target for recruitment for the armies at war, and especially for the young people. And I'm just going to go quickly through it. I have 3 minutes. In my case, I have 3 different armies that want to recruit me. So there was one army called the Mai Mai. They believed to have a supernatural power. They don't die with bullets and stuff. And this was one was led by my uncle. And so there was also the rebel movement, which the former perpetrators of the genocide in Rwanda, called the Interahamwe. And so these ones, they were also after us. And then another one which was led back then, Kabila was a rebel. So they wanted to get Mobutu out of power. And so because of that, we lived in fear. They would come to our village, the rebel would come and they would kill people. They would accuse you of something, they would capture women and they would rape them. And so we see this in our eyes. In my own experience, I saw my little sister being raped in my eyes, and I fought for her freedom. I went and disturbed them. Unfortunately, she was raped by 2 men, and the third one couldn't because we disturbed them so much. And this was some of the story that really, made my whole childhood. I became angry. I wanted to grow faster so that I can be able to fight. And at some point I wanted to actually join this movement also so that I can possess this gun and be able to fight these people. But at some point when I was already, the attractive moment for me was one led by my uncle. So they have already taken me in that movement, and I was doing stuff for them. And my father felt fear in any of this movement and advised me to flee the country. And so my father came early in the morning around 4 o'clock and sent me into the unknown. And so we have seen everything that has happened to the kids that ran away from the movement. They will cut them to pieces. And so there was fear, if they catch me, I will die. But my father was like, it is better for you to die a good person than becoming a horrible person. Some of these kids my age, they will come back and they will rape their own mothers or even their own sisters. They will do horrible. Sorry for the graphic images that I'm communicating here, but it's part of the story. And so my father crossed me into Rwanda, and on my way into escape, I found other kids. And from Rwanda, I'm gonna quickly roll through it because there is not much time. And so to cut the long story short, we took about 2 and half years by feet to get to South Africa. So every place where we're getting, they will tell you, you need to continue, otherwise, you know, you will become the breakfast of the animal. We crossed crocodile-infested rivers. We crossed, you know, unbelievable, you know, obstacles, but we made it finally to South Africa. In South Africa, I was on the street as a street kid. There was a huge struggle every day, knowing that I can never make it back to Congo. I will just die on the streets. I got pushed out of a moving trade. Every kind of abuse I experienced on the streets of Cape Town. Unfortunately, a couple found me on the streets of Cape Town, and they took me as their own child, and this is how my own life changed completely. So they looked beyond the dirtiness, the stuff that I was going through, and they took me into their own home. I was a very dangerous kid. I've been in prison, I've been selling drugs and stuff, but they went beyond that and took me into their home. And so after that, I went through a lot of different processes, counseling, and also learning from people, because I haven't been around people for a long time, but I also experienced that love of the family, that what made me to become a person that I am today. And so in 2010, 9-10, I went back to Congo to meet my parents, because I wanted to, I was feeling that reconciliation was very, very important. If I don't talk to my father and ask my father, why did you give me up? I will never know how to react when I met them. So I took the journey back by road with some few of my friends, how I got to South Africa. And it was incredible. Also, again, we got captured by rebels in Burundi, but we came out of that and we got to Congo. Getting to Congo, we started experiencing some things that, more because the war was still going on. And then while I was in Congo, I learned that my little sister, who was 5 years old, has been raped. And unfortunately, she conducted AIDS, and she couldn't look into my face. Every time I wanted to talk to her, she wasn't wanting to look into my face. And then at some point I asked her I asked my father what happened. They said she was raped. And so I got so angry with bitterness, and I wanted to go and take a gun. And everyone was talking to me. I said, no, I'll stay here, I'll start fighting. This was the only time my sister looked into my face and told me, brother, keep on loving. That was it. The only thing she told. This is a love that has taken me everywhere. And that love for me, that meant to love your enemies, love your enemies, you know, because this could have been you, but also love the environment in which you live. You know, this is a blessing that you have. And I started discovering all of that. What does really love mean? And so this is love that has taken me. This is because of this love that we are sitting here. This is the love that had taken me to Djolu. And yeah, that's my brief story. Yeah.
Thank you, Pappy.
Yeah.
That's sorry.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you
for telling us.
Sorry for
no apology.
No. Yeah. It's fine. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Ingrid, I'm sorry to have to follow that right up. But I know we have a lot to get through today, and I'm sure people will have plenty of questions for both of you after this. So I want to make sure we have time. Ingrid, would you tell us a little bit about who you are and where you came from?
Sure. I have a very simple story in comparison. And so I'll try to make it quick. I'm from Germany. Pappy is moved to Germany, and I immigrated from Germany many, many years before. So my family immigrated to the United States in the 1950s when I was a baby. And we arrived with $600 and my father's PhD in chemistry, and he had a job offer. So the fact that his PhD made it possible for my family to make a new life in another country made a lifelong impression on me. So this, I keep thinking about Pappy's story, and I had this suburban story, so I'm just going to tell it anyway. But growing up, I was a shy, nerdy, sensitive tomboy with a bad temper. And we moved to Texas, and it didn't help that we didn't fit into American culture at all, and especially not Texas culture, though I've come to love Texas now. As my brother put it, we grew up on Schulze Island. That's my last name. I didn't know any other Germans. My parents had thick German accents. We lived differently. We read books instead of watching TV. We didn't own a TV. We went hiking on Sundays instead of going to church. We ate different foods, et cetera, et cetera. My parents sympathized with the civil rights movement and opposed the war in Vietnam. But most of our neighbors in Austin were the opposite of us in that regard. And it was a very conformist time in the US, not that long after the World War II. And so being German was definitely not cool. And unlike Spanish-speaking kids, I had no local culture to connect with, so I was pretty alienated growing up. I probably also had some undiagnosed speech problem, maybe because I was a left-hander who was forced to write with my right hand. And so I found it really hard to talk a lot, and I was shy to begin with, like my mother. So I guess it runs in the family. So I learned to fight with boys in my elementary school, like when they called me Sergeant Schulze, because my last name is Schulze. Just like a foolish German guard in a prisoner of war camp on a TV show called Hogan's Heroes, which I recently watched a couple of YouTube clips of it, and it was really quite amusing. But yeah, Sergeant Schulze was terrible. So I took offense at that at the time. So graduating from high school felt like getting out of 11 years of prison. I never fit in, it seemed like, and college was wonderful. It was wonderful to get to the University of Texas, and I got a degree in German Lit. I was fluent in German, but still needed a big change in my life. I was kind of like Austin was home. So I took an exchange scholarship to study chemistry in West Berlin, when it was still West Berlin. Berlin was divided up, Germany was divided up into two countries. So I still love Texas. I would say despite the politics, but living for 3 years in a divided Germany during the Cold War, and then living for 30 years in Washington, D.C., turned me into a citizen of the world. And I've traveled a lot and have friends from all over the world. So I guess that's one of the reasons the thought of starting Congo Education Partners made sense to me. But one super important factor is I met Albert Locasola, who's the founder of Djolu Technical College, also known as DTC, or in French, ISDR Djolu for Institut Supérieur de Développement Rural. So sometimes I use those interchangeably. And then also I had personally felt the injustice of not having a voice, because I've often had a hard time talking at all, especially when I was young. And it was pretty obvious that people in rural Congo, especially women, did not have a voice in the world. I also empathized with the Congolese people because they had just been through a horrific war, the same war that Pappy was talking about, called an African World War, the first African war, hopefully the only African World War, that involved 9 countries. And most of the world seemed completely oblivious to it. And yet, after the war, there was no Marshall Plan to rebuild Congo, unlike Germany. And this was despite the fact that Germany was the aggressor in World War II. So that really, I have a really strong sense of justice. And that, you know, that was another reason why I really felt simpatico with Congo. But most important of all, I started CEP because I was convinced of the power of education to give people a voice in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ingrid. It's really wonderful to hear your story and see a little bit how it overlaps with Pappy's. So you touched on it a little bit, but obviously we're here today to talk about Congo Education Partners and the amazing work of Djolu Technical College. So tell us how you came to found Congo Education Partners.
Okay. Right. It's kind of a long story that I made really short. Again, this key event was meeting Albert. That was in 2005 when I was volunteering for a great ape conservation organization, the Bonobo Conservation Initiative. Albert Locasola was speaking at the Library of Congress, and I listened and was immediately taken by the project that he was working on with BCI to establish a community-managed bonobo reserve in his home territory in Kokolopori, near Djolu, about 50 miles from Djolu. And I was immediately taken by Albert. We were both scientists. That was really important because I interviewed him, and he was very patient with me. He let me interview him like, I don't know, an hour and a half or more. And I asked a lot of questions. That's one of my characteristics. So we hit it off. And so soon after that, I had this brainwave and went to talk to our mayor and started the precursor to CEP, which was the Kokolopori Falls Church City Sister City Partnership. And basically we were doing community development projects in Kokolopori where the reserve was being developed. So in 2008, I went to Congo for the first time, and it was one of the most amazing trips I've ever taken. So when the bush plane from Kinshasa landed on the Djolu airstrip, after 5 hours of flying over the rainforest, I knew I'd come to a totally different reality. It was amazing. And we stayed for 5 weeks, and as usual, I watched and I listened. I'm an introvert, so I always watch and listen. And then had so many things explained to me, asked a lot of questions, and I also saw my first bonobo in the wild. So the whole thing was totally a life-changing experience. And one of the most important experiences was meeting Locasola's sister, Veronique, who was just this wonderful young conservationist who seemed to have a bright future ahead of her. But within 6 months after I met her, she died of a completely preventable illness. And I tried to get her medevaced out of Djolu, but I couldn't. It was impossible. I begged authorities. She wasn't American, so it was impossible. And she might have survived if I'd been able to do that. So ultimately, Veronique became one of my inspirations for starting CEP also. And there's a little tiny bit of video left that I did with her that's on our YouTube channel. And then on my second trip to Djolu in 2011, I spent part of the time alone in Djolu, just collecting information, just sort of snooping around and talking to people and watching and getting a sense of people, sense of place, to see whether the college was a viable institution. And I decided, yes, it clearly was. It was just extremely poor. So when Albert and I discussed it later, we agreed that the best way to make a lasting impact in the region would be to help fund the college, as opposed to what we were doing before with the Sister City Partnership, which was a little of this, a little of that, and I felt like nothing much was coming of it, really. So then in 2013, Suzanne Littner and I co-founded Congo Education Partners. And so for the first 7 years, CEP was under the fiscal sponsorship of Multiplier, a California-based nonprofit incubator. And then in 2021, we spun off as an independent North Carolina-based nonprofit. And the rest is history. So that's that story.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing, and congratulations. I didn't realize that was so recent that you got your nonprofit. Amazing. A lot of work.
Thank you.
So I have one more question for you solo, Ingrid, and then I'll have one last one for both of you. I know that protecting the Congo Basin, and at this point, I feel like everyone has woken up to the fact that the Congo Basin rainforest is very essential to mitigating climate change and regulating our atmosphere. What people might not understand is the role that higher education and rural colleges like Djolu Technical College play in protecting the rainforest. And so I would love for you to talk a little bit about that and also touch on the importance of educating Congolese women in particular.
Thank you. Yeah, I really struggled to make this short. So anyway, I hope it all makes sense. So sort of as background, it's important to know that when the DRC gained its independence from Belgium, I guess it was Zaire then, the vast majority of Congolese were not permitted by the Belgians to be educated beyond primary school. There were just a handful of college graduates in the entire country, which is, well, as somebody who's into education, I won't say anything more, but unimaginable. So fast forward 60 years, and DRC's rainforest is now suddenly seen by the developed countries, many of whom, which have benefited from the exploitation of Congo's natural resources for decades, if not centuries. The rainforest is being seen as crucial for keeping carbon out of the atmosphere. And yet Congo's own carbon emissions are minimal compared to theirs, or I should say ours, since I'm in the United States. But meanwhile, a college education is still a distant dream for most rural Congolese. Yet how is it possible? How can you save the rainforest, so to speak, without educated people? And the way Albert puts it is successful conservation requires that people know why they should protect their forests and how they should do so. I think that's very clear formulation. And that means education, among other things, but most importantly, in environmental and agricultural sciences. And that's exactly what Djolu Technical College teaches. In fact, unfortunately, it's the only college in Chuapa province, a rainforest region the size of England, that offers those disciplines. So graduates of rural colleges like Djolu are actually they're the people on the ground who have to implement the local conservation solutions. And there are far too few of them in a region like Chuapa, which is very poor, heavily forested, and is a treasure chest of forests and so forth. So, and then you add to that Congo is a vast country. It's the size of Western Europe or the United States east of the Mississippi, and has a population of almost 90 million people. And yet its national budget is only about $8 billion, which is not even twice the size of Harvard University's budget. I think I've got the number right there. I think that's maybe the 2020 budget. Anyway, it's approximately that. Anyway, it's an incredible number. And so its higher education budget is also tiny. And most of that funding goes to larger institutions in the cities, and they can't educate everybody. Not to mention the fact that even the best universities in Congo, of which the University of Kisangani, where I'm happy to say Albert is about to get his PhD in the next 3 weeks, which is really cool. But even the University of Kisangani needs foreign funding. In the case of Kisangani University, it's from the EU. So that international funding is super important to increase the number of educated Congolese who can help protect the rainforest. When Albert and I envisioned the future of DTC, we looked to American land-grant colleges as the model. And these were established, the American land-grant colleges were established by Abraham Lincoln administration in 1862, so during the Civil War, to build, and this is worth quoting, practical professional skills in agricultural and mechanic arts to all social classes throughout the US. And some of the famous, some of many well-known land-grant colleges in the US are NC State, North Carolina State, Oregon State, Texas A&M. And these have grown into these huge and hugely important research universities. So that's the dream. And, but we can't do it alone. Right now, DTC is still a little private college that's very dependent on CEP's funding. We are their only international partner, and we are not well funded either. So it is at this point very much a dream. And then that gets us to the point, the importance of women's education, because that's something we are constantly working on, focusing on getting more women into the pipeline to go to Djolu Technical College. And part of that problem has been that women often don't even get to secondary school. Now, schooling is free for primary school in Congo. This is a very new development, and maybe for secondary school too, though secondary schools in the region can be very simple. And nobody has textbooks, by the way. So getting women into the higher education system is difficult simply because the pipeline is not big enough. But it's so incredibly important. And it's also super important because educating women is one of the most effective solutions to the climate crisis. So not only do educated women have fewer children, and they have more economic and political power, so they can make a difference where they live and beyond, but they're also better equipped to combat and adapt to climate change, because educated people in general are better at abstract thinking and more open to experimenting with new methods, like new farming methods, for example, that are easier on the rainforest, or crops or farming methods that are compatible with new weather patterns. So that's climate adaptation. So I could say a ton more here, but I'll just say that, as you saw in Pappy's video, women in Djolu need scholarships because families are very poor and they mostly spend money on educating their sons, whatever money they have. So most women need scholarships. And these are not expensive by American standards. They're $500 a year will fund a year of schooling at Djolu Technical College for a woman. So anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you very much for letting me go over.
Oh no, so worth it. I'm glad that we got all of that information, Ingrid. Thank you. Didn't know that about the land grant colleges either. That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one more question, and we'll have to keep it short so we can hopefully get just a couple minutes for people to ask their own questions. But I would like to start with you, Pappy. This is a question that we ask all of our speakers at the end of a conversation. What is inspiring you right now?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's very hard. It's a very hard one because I'm thinking a lot about Congo nowadays. I'm seeing, being from Eastern Congo, I just came back, I think a month ago, and there was again troubles in North Kivu. And that was for me a very, very difficult time to see, because we've been fighting for the war to end. And we've been trying to internationally to create awareness so people get to know how important Congo is for humankind, you know, for the rainforest, the resources, you know, the land that Congo has, but the world doesn't know much about Congo. So that really pains my heart to see what is happening around the world. But people, their attention is growing hugely to those areas, and Congo, nothing. And sometimes I'm just here, I'm crying just to know, like, I wish people can listen to us also, like that. And so, yeah, what is it? Having said that, I think I'm really inspired, like right now, to be sitting here with you all talking about Congo, and hopefully together in this room, we can put our force together to make a little impact on making a change in Congo, and maybe supporting women in Congo to have a better education, or maybe there's other suggestion on how we can help Congo. So Congo Education Partners there. So that has been inspiring me a lot. And I'm going to Djolu soon, in a week or so. So yeah.
That's wonderful. Yes, I hope people in this room can help as well. I know that will make a big difference. Ingrid, would you answer the question as well? What is inspiring you right now?
Sure. I'm answering it in terms of what inspires me about Congo, in particular, the Djolu region. So I would say it's the people. I mean, I love wildlife, I love rainforests, but it's people who protect it, people who take care of it. And I've met really remarkable people there. And I just have the deepest respect for what I would call their everyday heroism. Their toughness, their resilience, their resourcefulness, and their ability to find joy in really difficult circumstances. Where many Americans, present-day Americans, maybe not frontier Americans, but present-day Americans would have a hard time surviving. So I just am in awe of the people that I meet there. And I love their curiosity and thirst for education, especially when I've seen it in women, because women's lives are even harder than men's because of their endless childbearing and their endless farm labor. I love how the Djolu professors are a tight-knit group that devotes their lives to educating young people in the region. So there's a cadre of professors that are devoted to the college. I wish they had textbooks and a proper library and more than 5 laptops for 100 students. But I love how the students help each other when somebody doesn't understand something. They use a syllabus, I should clarify, rather than textbooks. The professors write up a syllabus for each class that they teach, and then the students buy a copy of the syllabus. So that's how that works. And I love how anytime there's a public event, for example, student thesis defense, or visitors from the Harvard Bonobo Project in Kokolopori, that so many people come from the community just to learn more or just out of curiosity. And so it's wonderful to see people's curiosity. I love that. And then I just love how the college, modest as it still is a center for higher learning in this remote area. So that's a lot of what I love. And then I could say a little bit about the rainforest. You know, it's so huge, and its biodiversity, biodiversity has decreased massively, like the rest of the world too. It's not as abundant and diverse as it used to be, but that makes conservation that much more important. And but there are all kinds of species that have not been identified by scientists. Local people know them, but they haven't been identified by scientists, so they don't have a real scientific name, so to speak. So I just have to say that one of our cool new projects that we're working on building up is working to develop a project on bird diversity in the region. So we're very excited about that. I'm also inspired by the people of the Kokolopori Bonobo Reserve, where some of the Djolu graduates end up working. And I'm proud that it's one of the most important places for bonobo conservation and research in the world. That's in the field. So bottom line is I'm inspired. Well, I just told you, I think I don't need to repeat myself. So anyway, there I am. I love this project. Thank you.
Wonderful list, Ingrid. Thank you. Yes, so many wonderful things to be inspired by. I appreciate that. So I know that we are 1 minute over. If Pappy and Ingrid can stay for a couple minutes, I would welcome anyone that has a question. If you would type it into the chat, Kimberly will be able to read it out loud so they can answer. Yes, let us know.
Jojo, we got a question earlier. What is one thing listeners can do to help?
Who would like to take it?
I can take that. The bottom line is, I'll say exactly what CEP needs. We need more funding. We need more board members. We need more networkers, people who care, who want to learn, who can connect us with news media. So some articles can be done on Djolu Technical College and what's happening. And always funding. We're always hurting for funding, obviously. Help getting more board members is really important too, in the sense that, you know, especially people with big networks. So I'd say that's several things, more than one.
Anything you want to add, Pappy, about what people can do to support?
I think Ingrid has said a lot, but I mean, being from Congo, I think it's really, I see the need for women education. I see not only in Djolu, the whole country, that women are left behind in every sphere, and it would be really nice, good for us to think about women in the DRC. And we as well know what they have gone through during the war and what they're still going through. They're marginalized, and there is a huge problem of rape also in the Congo. And women are often stigmatized once they've gone through a situation like that. But if women are educated, they can also understand their right, and even how they can come before the law when something as such happens. So we have to think in all this direction to really support the women of Congo.
And also women are respected more if they're educated and if they make money. Yeah. So that's really key. Well,
yeah, and they're also more reliable in our organization. If you're giving funds to men, usually, well, I'm not generalizing here, but it has been, many organizations have seen it. Like if there's a lot of corruption, men usually squander the money, and women are always there to protect. And we have seen it from my organization as well. So it is very important to have those women in a deciding position.
Thank you. Any other questions that came in the chat? I'll just give it a minute if people are thinking. Okay. Well, thank you both so very much. That was such a rich conversation. Thank you for sharing your stories. Yes, Marja, there will be a link. We will send a follow-up email to everybody who RSVP'd. So even if someone wasn't able to attend, they would still get this email. And it will have a link to the recording of the event, as well as, again, the link to Congo Education Partners and some other relevant resources so that you can follow up and learn more and hopefully donate if you have something that you can give to support. Because as we've heard today, this work is critical. And what an amazing group of people that you would be supporting, leaders like Ingrid and Pappy in their work. So thank you both so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having us. It's really, I'm really touched and really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate it, Congo. On behalf of Congo, we are very, very grateful, and I hope this is just the beginning. Maybe you have us again one day.
Oh,
that would be nice.
We would be lucky. And I just want to say, since this will go in the recording, we had one final question from Christine asking how much is one scholarship for one student? And are you able to answer that? Ingrid, I believe you said, is it $500?
That's correct. Yes.
$500. So
for 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, both of you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend. Pappy, we look forward to seeing more videos and photos from you. I cannot wait for the documentary that's coming.
Yeah.
And I follow you on YouTube, so I will get the updates. And Ingrid,
Cool,
always lovely to work with you and Congo Education Partners. So thank you both so much. Everyone, you're free to unmute yourself if you want to say goodbye before you sign off.
Thank you.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much for coming.
That was
Thank
so
you.
lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.